All right, welcome. We got Group D, so-called Group of Death. You got USA number 16 in the world, Turkey number 22 in the world, Australia number 27 in the world, Paraguay number 40 in the world. I don't put too much stock in the FIFA rankings, but it's a tough group. All four teams got a serious schedule ahead of them, especially for the groups. And I'm gonna be doing a video on the best 5 games of the group stage, maybe best 10 games, and I think there's one in here that could take it. We'll get to that, but let's start with the United States. There's a lot of criticism about what's been going on with them. They're kind of their guys sitting out international friendlies, sitting out Gold Cup. I remember Tim Weah, he released an interview basically saying, all these legends that they're talking a lot of shit about the current players and saying, they're copping out, not giving their all for the team. And he basically said they didn't win anything either. They don't have the trophies and stuff to kind of be talking like this about the current players. And I hate to say it, but he's kind of right. I mean, if you look at the United States, most of these kind of critics are guys that were playing in like the 1990s, 2000s, the teams that kind of brought a lot of influence and notability to the national team. That's kind of where we're looking. The best performance was the World Cup was third place in 1930. Okay, so no fourth place anywhere else. And let's look at the Gold Cup, right? Champions 2005, 2002, 2007, 2021, runners up 2025, right? But you got to understand the gold, like the performance for that generation, the older generation, was slightly better. They got 3, but you got to understand they're not playing the same teams. You look at 2002 Gold Cup, the best team is Mexico. I don't know why South Korea is in there, but the team that got second in 2025, they played a lot more teams, and the team that played in 2021 won. So I really don't see the reason for too much criticism. And then Copa America, like you're playing Argentina, you're playing Brazil. These are tough teams. So I don't really see going back to this, what Weah said, he's kind of right in saying like, it's not like they're winning either. It's Landon Donovan's kind of jabbing, Alexi Lalas, guys who are legends and kind of deserve a lot of respect. But I think it's not good for the team to get these really high profile older players criticizing very publicly the players. If you want to say something, just say it to them, send a text or something like that. Don't say it online or say it to the media. There's no reason. I think that there's a lot of stigma around that, around the team right now. It's a very negative environment. I'm a little bit worried about the performance. Not to mention, I said this in an earlier video, but Pochettino said, who's the men's coach, he said there's not a top 100 player in the world in the U.S. squad, which I think is untrue. I think Pulisic is probably the top 100 players right now. B, it's just not a good thing for a coach to say. You got to show that you have faith in their players and stuff like that. Now, granted, the results haven't been good. You look at the fixtures, that's not that. 2 losses, both by multiple goals, getting belted by Belgium. I'm not happy with that. So they got to turn it around. They got the players for it as well. If you look at the squad, these are good players. Weston McKennie plays for Juventus, one of the best teams in Italy. Christian Pulisic, obviously. Anthony Robinson, Tim Weah, like the players are there. Malik Tillman, I think, is a very underrated player that people aren't paying attention to. He's going to be big for us. So the players are there. But I think that with how much negativity is going on, just everything people are saying and the players, the coach, the relationship between Pochettino and the players, and the criticism they're getting, it's just not a good environment. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't win this group, despite being the best ranked and the number one seed, quote unquote, in the group. This is who I think is going to win the group, because not enough people are talking about them. They've got world-class players. Arda Güler scored 2 incredible goals in the Champions League against Bayern Munich for Real Madrid. He's only 21. He plays well for Turkey. You saw in the I'll pull up his goal for the Euro. This was 2 years ago when he was 19. Look how far out he is. Slaps it. Oh my gosh. So he's money. And then another player who I think people are not overlooking, but don't know about as well, Kenan Yildiz for Juventus. He's a left winger, fast, can finish, takes 2 dudes on, very direct player. I've seen videos of him training, and he's got incredible quality. Not to mention they also have Hakan Çalhanoğlu, but in the midfield, they're kind of their captain. He can take a great set piece. He can score from anywhere. Yilmaz plays for Galatasaray, kind of the biggest club in Turkey. Demiral's a good player. Kabak's a good player. So they're a very solid team, and I think that people aren't taking them as seriously as they should. They're ranked 22nd in the world, and look at some of these results. I think going back to 2025, they were in a pretty tough group for the qualifiers. So they had to kind of work their way around that. The Spain result's not great, but they drew them away. I mean, Spain's one of the favorites for the World Cup, and you're telling me 5 months ago they tied Turkey 2-2. They didn't lose another game other than the Spain game. Beat Hungary, who's not a bad team. Beat the United States. Like this, I think people are sleeping on Turkey. I have them winning this group, especially with how well the Turkish clubs are playing. Like Galatasaray was, very competitive against Liverpool in the Champions League. So I like Turkey a lot. Now the other 2 teams, I don't really know too much about. I know Paraguay have Enciso, who's a very dangerous midfielder. He can strike the ball very well. Diego Gomez, I think I'm not too familiar with him, but I know he's a good player. Almiron's a good player. He used to play for Newcastle in the Premier League. A lot of people liked him. I don't know why he left to the MLS. I think he was just getting enough money. They weren't giving him enough money. It was a better contract. But they're dangerous too. I mean, you look at their results, right? They beat Greece. That's a UEFA team. Only lost by 1 to Morocco, who's number six, I believe, in the world. No, number 8 in the world. So Paraguay's good. I mean, I'm worried as a United States fan, an American. I'm worried. I think we can eke it out, but these are good results for Paraguay. Not to mention they're considered the worst in the group, and they're only losing by 1 to Morocco. They're competitive against the best teams in the world. Paraguay's dangerous. Turkey's dangerous. I don't know too much about Australia. They performed very well in the 2022 World Cup. They were in Argentina's group and managed to get out of there. So that should tell you something. They typically bring a good squad, and they're very disciplined, very solid defensively. Their issue is they don't really have they're not too dangerous to score 3 or 4 goals. So when it comes down to it, it's very hard for them to win. But let me look at some of their results. Let's see what they got going on. Yeah, so these aren't, I mean, Cameroon's a decent result. That's not a bad team. Curacao, more of a weaker team. 5-1. I mean, that doesn't really speak to much. 2025. Yeah, see, losing to, I mean, they beat Japan. That's not a terrible result. That's a very good result. Lost to the U.S., lost to Colombia, lost to Venezuela, beat Canada. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like this group is pretty. It's pretty even, but it's very It's very competitive. I mean, you can see from here's the group down here. It's easily the closest group by far. The range of teams is the closest, and it's pretty high up relative to the relative to everyone else. So I wouldn't call this the group of death, because personally I always see the group of death as, a group where the best teams can go down. And there's not really, I wouldn't say there's anyone who's really one of the best teams in the world in this group. So I wouldn't call it the group of death, but it's a very competitive group, and you could easily see, USA getting second, maybe even third. I have really no clue how this group is going to end up. So, but if we're thinking about goals for the tournament, right? The US, consistently we get out of the group. So that's not going to be the goal, right? This is a so-called the best generation. I think it is, in terms of pure skill, the best team we've had. The primary goal for the US is going to be get to the round of 16. It's quarterfinals, because now historically we're very good in the group stage, into performance-wise. We always get out of the group stage. We did in 2022. We did in 2014. We made it out, and then we just lose the first game in the knockout round. So I think the priority is win the first game in the knockout round. Then the goal will be win the next one. So get to the quarterfinals. But I think there's every shot that we don't make it. We don't win the group, so it'll be tough. Turkey, I think, has similar goals. They haven't been to the World Cup in 20 years. They're going to be wanting to go far, at least into the round of 16. Australia, Paraguay, I think their goal is knockout round, because it's going to be, in my opinion, it's going to be between them for the third spot. I think Turkey probably wins the group, and the United States. It could be the other way around. But with the negativity that's going on in the U.S. camp, I think there's a shot that, they kind of fall apart at certain points when they're faced with a little bit of difficulty. Now, granted, there is the home field advantage, but it just, that I think this is my first hot take of the group stage, is that the USA will get second in their group. I'm gonna go Turkey, USA, Australia, Paraguay. First game's in Los Angeles against Paraguay. I think that will be, LA typically shows out for the United States teams, and they'll get the whole celebrities. There's going to be a lot of USA supporters there, so they'll probably win that game. I wish you could sort it by group. USA, I believe, will win this game. Seattle's a big hotspot for, the national team support. This one could go either way, so I think there's every shot that Turkey can pull a result here. I think they do. And then this, I see Australia winning that one. But who knows? I could be so wrong. USA could sweep and go. I mean, it's going to be this or this. It's going to be Turkey, USA 1 and 2. I see Turkey getting the one spot, because I think they're a little bit underrated. I think they just have more dangerous players. And then it's, this can go either way too. That's what I would have for Group D. But I appreciate you tuning in, and stay tuned for the next video.